So good afternoon, Jonty. It's great to speak to you, and thank you for taking the time to speak to us at Jeppe Blaze.
Hi, Greg. Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. It's great to finally catch up with you and looking forward to chatting about this.
Excellent. Well, let's kick off then. What drew you to rowing in the first place? What is the thing that initiated your love for the sport?
Well, I'd have to say that a big influence was probably my older brother. The fact that he was already in the Jeppe rowing club, and he told me all of his war stories, and it sort of piqued my interest. I was a swimmer all through primary school. Much like my brother, we were pretty good swimmers, but then as soon as we got into high school, he introduced me to the sport, and then from there I sort of fell in love with it. Also had the added benefits of being one of the few co-ed sports, so it was nice to socialize with the opposite sex as well.
Yeah.
But it's just everything about the sport sort of drew me to it. The complexity of it in terms of there's a lot of technique in the sport, requires a high level of fitness and endurance. That was right up my alley. With obviously a strong history of Jeppe boys in my family, I knew that firstly Jeppe was the school for me, and that rowing would probably be the sport for me. Although in the beginning it wasn't necessarily, I found it quite difficult, but once I found my feet, I really started to enjoy it.
You talk about endurance and that type of thing, and having just completed your first Ironman, which congratulations on that, by the way. You know all about that.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's definitely one of my stronger points is the endurance side of things. I've never been one for, sitting in a gym, lifting heavy weights, that sort of thing. I just found, finding your endurance limit and then trying to push it a little bit further is really enjoyable. And rowing was a perfect sport for that.
Excellent. So question, how has your time as a Jeppe oarsman impacted your adult life?
It's had a huge impact on my life. Just in terms of the friends that I've made, I'm still friends with a lot of the guys that I went to school with. Not all of them were Jeppe oarsmen, but those that were, I'm definitely still in contact with quite a few of them. Life happens, so we all go our different ways. So unfortunately, don't chat to all of them. But yeah, spending the time, whether it be in the rowing tanks at the school or at VLC, spending many hours after school at the lake. It's taught me a lot about determination, and just when life gets difficult or when it gets tough, you just got to keep persevering, and eventually you'll see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's, in comparison to a lot of other sports that I could have done, I don't think it would have I wouldn't have faced the same challenges as I did with rowing. And it's made me really grateful for those experiences.
Oh, brilliant. So you talk about the rowing tanks there. I remember the rowing tanks, but they're no longer, of course, because they got the erg room and fantastic training centers and facilities now. But I remember the old concrete tanks with, I wouldn't say with fondness, but I do remember them.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I remember myself.
Excellent. And so what are your thoughts about the building of the Jeppe rowing community and the work that Jeppe Blaze is doing in terms of equipping the club?
So hands down, I think it's an essential need that the club has. We never really had a lot of backing from, although there were old boys that are always interested in rowing, there was no sort of formal portal for old boys to get involved. And I think putting a face to the name, and saying that here's what we have, anyone who's interested, come and find out what we're doing, I think is incredibly fantastic for the club. Just not only to to show what Jeppe is doing and where it's going, and obviously to get the funding. I think just to bring all sorts of old boys back together, because we, as I said, when life happens, we don't always get the chance to have sort of meetups, whether they be in person or virtual meetups, and chat to guys that rode before us and chat about how things have changed. And I feel that there's a lot of value that can be taken out of that past experience. Sometimes a challenge that the school might be facing currently could have, has already been solved in the past. And so there's a huge knowledge base, I believe, in old boys, and if Poets and Blades can bring that to light, it would be fantastic.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so that you're right, that wider community and yeah, things change. Like we've gone from the concrete sort of training tanks to an erg room, which is really, really amazing. So there are some things that do change, and things that progress is evident, but there's that combined or that communal experience of rowing as a sport, and we all share in the pain and the glory, and the guts of the glory,
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, we all go through it. It's, as you say, the game has changed a lot, but we're still playing the game, and it's just, you can still take experience and advice from anyone and still apply it these days, even though the training has changed.
Yeah. Totally agree. So your time at Jeppe, is there a particular event that you can share with us that was of particular importance to you, or that you can reflect on with fondness?
To be honest, I had so many good times being a Jeppe oarsman. I used to love everything about, or maybe not the early morning trainings, I didn't love that so much, but just in terms of going on tours and that feeling that you'd get in your stomach on a Saturday morning, knowing that you're going to a regatta and you got to go and put on a big performance. The thing that would obviously drive a lot of people away, but that's something that I really enjoyed, just having something to wake up for and something to really go and set your mind towards. But I would say probably receiving my my first day tri suit was a big moment in good old Orkney. I think they're still training there, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, that would probably be quite a big moment in my eyes. And maybe a second would be when I think I was in under 16, and Rod McDonald and Ryan Thompson were the coaches for the Opens. I remember they were doing seat boat trials for the first and second year Opens at Orkney, and they said, because I was sort of I think I was at the time maybe the strongest in my age group, and they said, yeah, come and just sit in, we need you to sit in for someone, and we just want to see how things move in the boat. And having that experience to row with guys that were a lot older than me, and we looked at them as the gods when we were in under 16, and to row with them and to experience that, and have the feedback from the first team coaches at the time was really something that stuck with me, just in terms of when you've been given an opportunity, you really have to step up and just go for it. So that, for some reason, that's always stuck in my head.
Absolutely.
As a really good memory. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's brilliant. Excellent stuff. So yeah, in my days, we didn't have tri-suits in our days, but we had these kind of hoodies that we used to get as the first aid crew, and yeah, just wearing that thing was, it's just, you walked with pride, and it was like, wow, I've made it. It's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, exactly. And the traditions you sort of build around something as simple as an item of clothing is just, and what it represents is just fantastic. And yeah, that, I think the respect in terms of carrying that tradition, and even when other people think it's maybe silly, but that's what it stands for, and where the fact that you can sort of draw power from that is fantastic.
Yeah, there's incredible value there. I think pretty much most people that we speak to, they talk about the friendships, they talk about the racing, they talk about the life lessons, but tradition and the importance of tradition as a Jeppe boy and as a Jeppe oarsman, of course. I think that ranks pretty high. It's certainly just most people that we speak to, tradition and carrying on those traditions is a big thing.
Yes, definitely. I think it's something that at the time I might not have understood, at the beginning of my open years and that, or let's say the under 14, under 15 years. I never really, it took me a bit of time to understand, like, why are these guys doing this? Why do they lift the blades like that? Why, all of this. And then as you stick with the sport, and you make those brotherhood relationships with your friends, and you start to realize what it all stands for, then I mean, it's something that you can never take away from a Jeppe oarsman.
That's for sure.
And any old boy you chat to, you chat about old times, and you still get the hair standing up on the back of your neck and on your arms when you think about those times. And that's powerful for me. That's something that needs to continue for years to come.
And I'm sure it will. I'm absolutely positive about that. So Jonty, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for just sharing with us, and my encouragement to all Jeppe oarsmen. Just hang in there, go for gold, and keep watching this space. There's a lot more good things to come. So thank you for your time.
Great. Thanks a lot, Greg. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure, man.